Hello, I am Nurul Athar, PMP CPHIMS ITIL certified, and welcome to CPHIMS exam preparation video. In this video, I will cover system selection, implementation, support and maintenance. It's come under systems. Okay. CPHIMS aspirants are required to study following topics under this section: facilitate solution selection criteria, select and review team members, conduct solution selection activities, for example, demonstrate, site visit, reference check, employ organizational change management technique in support of solution implementation, provide knowledge transfer through user and operational manual and training, execute implementation of solution, integrate system to support business requirement, manage healthcare information systems, for example, operate and upgrade, analyze data for problem and trends, for example, error reports, help desk, log, surveys, performance metrics, network monitoring, prioritize issues to ensure critical functions are repaired, maintained, and are enhanced, incorporate solution into organizational disaster recovery and business continuity plan, develop system and personal downtime procedures. I have tried to cover all this topic under this section, 4 sections. Achieving success with HIS requires a roadmap from early planning through system go live, managing healthcare information system, business continuity and disaster recovery plan, downtime procedure. Okay, let's explore one by one. There is a long list of activities that impinge upon the success of HIS implementation. We will focus on 5 of them. Receiving buy-in from leadership through the development of a strategic plan, ensuring health professional engagement and buy-in through strong clinical leadership, healthcare professional involvement, and a solid plan for communication, training healthcare professionals using programs that specifically meet the needs of the different users, enthusiastic adoption of HIS, and post-implementation support. Let's see this topic one by one. Receiving buy-in from leadership through the development of a strategic plan. Let's see what is this strategic planning. HIS, Healthcare Information System Strategic Plan, contain information that is of interest to executive team members, including how the project is aligned with goal of the organization. For example, is the organization interested in enhancing patient satisfaction, expanding services to rural areas, avoiding admission in the emergency department, or becoming part of an accountable care organization? The business case for the project. This includes financial metrics such as cost benefit analysis, return on investment analysis, and a payback period analysis. Data regarding the potential market size and competitive landscape can also be desirable. The clinical and technical task resources need to be build, test, deploy, support the HIS. This includes detailed information on activities, timeline, deliverable, and milestones. Metrics to evaluate features such as quality, utilization, performance, impact, and satisfaction, as well as other success criteria. System selection. Start with the clear goals set forth in the IT strategy from the senior executive. Establish software selection teams, identify requirement and selection activities. Let's see the first topic. Example include improve patient safety, improve a specific process, go paperless. Establish software selection team. Select team, complete an operational review. Okay, selection team, complete an operational review. Decision about membership should balance the importance of including the right people with need to keep the size manageable. Let's see the first topic, selection team, complete an operational review. Okay, what is good about the current system? What can be improved? What is missing from the current system that must be in the new systems? Okay, decision about members should balance the importance of including the right people with the need to keep the size manageable. Okay, the exact member will depend on what is being selected and should include representative from clinical, organizational, operation, IT, and the business department to ensure all affected areas are involved. List of who might be involved in selection team. Facilitator, provide overall leadership and coordination of some selection process. Executive sponsor, provide support, clarify mission, facilitate necessary resources, and act as a champion within the organization. Technical representative, provide technical expertise such as IT, biomedical, and telecommunications. Business representative, provide business or clinical end user expertise. These individuals are highly knowledgeable about the current business and knowledge and workflows and represent the end users. Program project managers, provide implementation and methodology expertise. Contract representative, provide contracting, negotiation, and process expertise. Financial representative, provide budgetary expertise. Organizational change leaders, provide expertise related to facilitating change within the organization. Governance committee, provide oversight but is often not directly involved in the team. The selection team report back to this group. Once implementation begins, this group will remain intact to monitor and ensure the project success. In some organizations, this group is called steering committee. Okay, identify requirement. Selection criteria are built on the defined need and high requirement that the business case identified as necessary for the solutions. Okay, a list of requirement could include followings: functional requirement and non-functional requirement. Functional requirement example: a system must send an email whenever a certain condition is met. For example, an order is placed, a customer sign up, etc. Okay. These are the example of functional requirement. Application with organization specific functionality, security and privacy requirement, regulatory requirement, reporting capability, including standard and custom reporting, integration with other application or services, access from multiple locations, for example, acute care, long-term care, clinic, etc. Access from mobile devices, redesign workflow and decision support functionality. Now we'll see what is non-functional requirement. Example: email should be sent with latency of no greater than 12 hours from such an activity. Okay, these are example of non-functional requirement. Facility IT infrastructure is space, cooling, and power, hardware for production, development, testing, and training environment, hardware for disaster recovery or high availability, hardware for reporting, backup and recovery plan and procedure, workstation and printer requirement, and hardware, wired and wireless network, system installation, configuration, maintenance, documentation, supplemental staffing for implementation, training, and positive support independent verification and validation to reduce risk by providing impartial reviews of business and technical aspects of project, process for issues resolution and request for enhancement, maintenance and support process and procedure, expected procurement and implementation timeline along with any constraint that would affect the timeline, expected availability, reliability and scalability. Select, Selection activities. Once the requirement has been approved and decision to buy has been made, it is time to look for vendors that are able to meet them. The following element may be involved in selection. The following element may be involved in solution selections. Okay. Request for information, request for proposal, evaluation of request for proposal, responses, comparison to IT strategic plan, compliance with regulatory requirement, background check, demonstration, site visit, client reference, selection meeting, negotiation, selection, and budget development. Let's explore each topic one by one. What is request RFI, request for information? The request for information provides a format for gathering information about which vendors are able to meet the high-level requirement. The responses are compared to the documented requirement, which may modify prior to posting the RFP. If it is clear some required items are not available for require. Okay. Sorry, I will read it again. The request for information provides a format for gathering information about which vendors are able to meet the high-level requirement. The responses are compared to the documented requirement, which may modify it prior to posting the RFP. If it is clear some required items are not available or require more definitions. Let's see what is RFP. The request for proposal provides the official request for vendor to submit how they will meet the requirement, which are more defined and include timelines and budget detail. Evaluation of RFP responses. Responses should be reviewed and scored based on availability to meet the required preferred and optional requirement. This step is accomplished with the entire team doing independent scoring of each responses, followed by team discussion and consensus. This step is accomplished with the entire team doing independent scoring of each responses, followed by team discussion and consensus or final score. This process helps identify which vendor can meet the organizational need and provides the first opportunity to eliminate any vendor that cannot. Comparison to IT strategic plan. When evaluating the responses, it is important to understand how a vendor's solution or plan implementation will fit with the organization's IT strategic plan. It is the IT roadmap leading the direction of virtualization to simplification of technology or to decreased number of vendors. How does the offered solution fit with its roadmap? It might be okay if the solution doesn't fit, but that fact should be considered during selection. Compliance with regulatory requirement. Pertinent regulation should be part of your requirement and listed as essential. All vendors should be evaluated against any government, regulatory or security requirement. Background check. Once the list of possible vendors is decreased, some research should be done. This would include evaluation of their financial stability, market share, and customer satisfaction, how long a product has been on the market, and how many other customers are using it should be matched to your organization's risk and tolerance level. Are you an early adopter who can tolerate some issues with the application? If you are able to work with the vendor on new feature and functionality, or would you prefer a solid, reliable application that the vendor has had time to refine? The outcome of this activity should be included in scoring of each vendor's. Demonstration. Requesting a demonstration allows vendor to show how they can meet the request. This provides visual that is very beneficial, but it is often done with a generic version of the product. Prior to demonstration, it is suggested that a list of scenarios to be provided to the vendor so they will show how their product can meet your needs rather than highlight only the feature that they choose. Site visits. Visiting a site has already Visiting a site that has already worked with a vendor and implemented their solution provide an opportunity to speak with people directly, ask a specific question, and see how the solution works within their workflow and process. This helps to demonstrate how the system can be customized during implementation to fit defined workflow and processes. Questions to ask during site visit would range from what it's like to work with the vendor, how they respond to requests or support during implementation or after live, and how easy it is to customize the application or to integrate with other systems. The number of sites is often the number of sites is often depend on the number of vendors remaining at this point in the process. The decision on who should participate often depend on who will be affected by the implementation and the distance to be traveled for the visit. It is optimal if the organization, not the vendor, choose what site to visit, but that is not always an option. Client reference. The contract representative negotiates with remaining vendor to obtain the best solution for the organization. This would include cost, software, hardware, implementation services, support and maintenance. The selection committee as well as legal representatives should carefully review all documents sent to the organization from the vendors because once the papers are signed, they are a binding contract. During negotiation, there may be multiple requested modifications to the documents that require back and forth communication. This process can take a while since each modification needs to be properly reviewed by the other party before they come back with their modification, and so on. The cost table should include cost for items such as software license, integration, data conversion, training implementation services, hardware and third-party software licenses. Selection. Based on the negotiation and the final offer from each of the remaining vendors, the team makes a selection. Each step of this process along with justification of the selection should be documented in case and vendor choose to contest the award. The final agreement often include items such as payment schedule, vendor and client responsibilities, delivery schedule, system installation and configuration documentation, specific deliverable, a standard project plan, penalties for not meeting deadlines, termination process, assignment of license, and process for upgrades or updates. Budget development. During the negotiation, the budget is developed based on the cost defined during negotiation and selection. The budget often needs to include cost beyond the system vendor. Other items that might be included in the project budget are contracted to the contractors to supplement the organization's top business change management requirement, hardware not purchased through the software vendor, such as new workstations or printers, cost from other vendors for integration services, training, travel, standard fixed or variable cost, such as space and staffing. The budget is typically finalized within 30 days after the final contract award date. Implementation process. Now that the system has been selected, it is important to define how it will be implemented. Organizational change management, implementation strategy, system integration to support business requirement. Organizational change management. Planning for these changes and evaluating the different options for managing them should begin during the procurement process. It is important to have top support as well as the member of senior leadership on change management team to show commitment and provide strong leadership. The team should also include members from all affected areas so they have a sense of ownership and commitment to project success. Adoption often is affected by users' perception of how the system fit with their workflow. Does it provide efficiencies or appear to extra work? Does the system functionality cause a perceived negative change in process, or can the system be made to fit within the processes and even improve them? Often the adoption is based on perceived benefit by end users. The staff has to be ready for the change, which is why stakeholder involvement in workflow redesign is critical. Having end user involved in hardware selection, such as workstation, on wheel or mobile devices, provides feedback to project team about the usability of device being evaluated. Now see implementation strategies. Okay. These are implementation strategies which are used: big bang, phased by location, phased by functionality, pilot, and like for like. Big bang. Going live with full functionality to be implemented in all locations at the same time. If there is a legacy system being replaced, this might be only option. This strategy requires a considerable amount of coordination to ensure that all areas are ready, with hardware in place, training completed, and enough support staff available. Phase by locations. Going live with all functionality to be implemented in one location at this time. This strategy extends the duration of activation activity, but provides some benefit. The staff from the areas that are already live can assist with providing support to ones that follow. Holding a meeting after each phase to discuss lesson learned could provide continuous improvement for later phases. Phase by functionality. Going live in all locations with one feature at a time. An example would be to bring the admission process live first for admission, discharge, and transfer, and patient demographic information, followed by computerized practitioner order entry, CPOE, and then clinical documentation. This strategy also extends the duration of the activation and allows users to gradually get accustomed to the system before utilizing it fully. As above, meeting after each phase to discuss lesson learned could provide continuous improvement for future phases. Pilot. Going live initially with one location as a pilot test and then following everyone else in phase. Big bang process. This allowed team to learn from a small group before going live with entire user community. Like for like. Going live with same functionality that was placed in prior to the project. Extra functionality is often added later through configuration management. Discuss later or later project. This strategy often used when replacing a legacy system or during upgrade. It helps us to decrease the complexity of activation and decrease the impact on the end user. There will always be some users who perceive this approach to be useless since they do not see an improvement. System integration to support business requirement. Patient demographic information should be shared between the outpatient clinic or office system and the inpatient EHR electronic health record, so the patient doesn't need to provide the same information over and over again. Integration allows data to be in multiple systems without manual data entry. Some types of integration to be considered during include the following: real-time integration, schedule time integration, integration of data from device, real-time integration. Okay, sharing of data nearly simultaneously when it's entered or modified or when another defined trigger occur. The standard for this type of integration is health level 7. HSA1, which define the specific surrounding the interface messages. So what is sent from one source system is acceptable by destination systems. Scheduled data integration, sharing data in a batch according to a predetermined time frame, such as nightly, at midnight, or every so many hours. The data feed can be accomplished through formatted file or HL7 messages. Integration with data from devices. Fitting up data from a specific device into an application. This device can range from hemodynamic monitor, vital sign monitor, anesthesia machines to ventilator. This type of interface helps decrease manual data entry but may require the data to be verified before it becomes official within the system. Now let's explore next topic. Ensuring healthcare professional engagement and buy-in through a strong clinical leadership, healthcare professional involvement, and solid plan for communication. Healthcare professional engagement. Okay. Integration of new HIS health informed system into patient care workflows and ensuring widespread acceptance is a significant undertaking. A well-coordinated implementation plan in which healthcare professionals are actively involved in decision making from the start will lay the groundwork for healthcare professional utilization and satisfaction with the system. Okay. So implement leadership network, recruit clinical champion communications and healthcare professional input. Implement a leadership network. An effective structure for setting expectation, facilitating communication, achieving buy-in, and coordinating tasks across facilities, department, or services area in which the creation of governance structure that include a multidisciplinary advisory committee and clinical steering committee. Recruit clinical champion. Consistent communication between healthcare professional, administration, and information services ensure that the information system appropriately addresses the need of clinical user and specific care settings. Methods of recruiting champion. Methods of recruiting champion vary. For example, it may be that Chief Medical Officer, Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Executive Officer, and Chief Information Officer identify the candidate, or if the organization has Chief Medical Information Officer, that individual may become the champion. In other instances, healthcare professionals are encouraged to apply for the position. Communications. Okay. Communication efforts need to address the specific interests and needs of each audience, and important areas of communication center on how the HIS will benefit healthcare professionals in the delivery of patient care. Realistic expectations regarding system capabilities also need to be reinforced. In today's rapidly changing healthcare environment, information system assists health professionals in enhancing the quality of patient care, improving efficiency in delivering care, controlling healthcare costs, improving patient care work processes. Additionally, leadership help plan and communicate what's happening throughout the implementation, key milestone, upcoming event, etc. Other important communication activities are setting and resetting expectation and addressing fear or issues that will arise. Okay. A variety of options exist for getting the word out about the HIS projects. Okay. Newsletter, employees website, blogs, email, digital media and demonstration are few ways of communicating about the projects. Okay. Formal and informal surveys are a communication vehicle for receiving feedback from employees and can help administration determine if expectations have been realistically established and whether or not fear and issues have been adequately addressed. Communication should be ongoing and not occur just before the system go live. Healthcare professional inputs. It is imperative that through the planning and implementation of HIS, as many healthcare professionals as possible are exposed to the system and that their input is gathered and used in system design and workflow processes. Not only does this ensure that healthcare professional needs will be addressed, but it helps build enthusiasm and acceptance of the system. Let's explore next topic. Training healthcare professionals using program that specifically meet the needs of the different users. Training program, developing training program strategy. Let's see the training programs. Okay. Training program. Widespread success with HIS rests in large part with a successful training program. Okay. The development of a strong program began early in the implementation process and is closely coordinated with key implementation activities. The 4 key milestones for training programs are planning, curriculum development, trainer training, and end user training. Many HIS vendors provide training program guidelines, but each healthcare organization is different and should determine appropriate strategy for meeting its specific training goals and needs. Developing training program strategy. General design guidelines, training team, and training methodologies. General design guidelines. Some general guidelines when designing a program. Each user type. Identify early adopter with good technology skills and enthusiasm for the HIS. Okay. For these users, the training session should offer an overview of basic functionalities and move quickly toward a demonstration of the more complex functionalities and their practical applications. Later adopters fall into 2 categories. Those who are less skilled in technologies and those who are concerned about possible negative impact of the HIS on patient interaction and clinical process. Okay. The later adopter may identify problem with system design or workflow during the training program. It is critical to use this feedback to improve the system design and training program. Let's see first those who are less skilled in technologies. The first group should receive training, focus on mastering basic functionalities, then be partnered with mentor who can introduce them to advanced functionalities. Those who are concerned about the possible negative impact of HIS on patient interaction and clinical processes. The second group's training should cover basic functionalities and then focus on utilizing the HIS system within the clinical workflow. All data and scenario used in training should be realistic and reflect how the system will look at go live. Provide training as close to go live date as possible. Depending on total number of staff that need to be trained, the scope of the training and the delivery method, this could be as early as 4 weeks before go live, especially if classroom training is used. Now let's explore training team. The training team is identified at the onset of implementation. Typically, this team is responsible for all end-user training. Members of this team include members of an existing internal training education group, IT personnel, other healthcare professional and outside contractor consultant. This trainer must be knowledgeable about the HIS and also have a strong clinical background, understand practice to pattern, be familiar with the protocol and workflow, and be able to articulate the person behind why system design decisions were made. This team is tasked with achieving key objectives for training include efficiently utilizing training time, increasing the number of proficient users of the CIS, Clinical Informed System or HIS Informed System, and creating a high level of enthusiasm for the Clinical Informed System or Health Information System HIS system. They will do this by developing answer to following questions. How many users need to be trained? Who are early and late adopted? What component will be specifically address the need of different users types? What is training timeline? And what form will training will take place? Training methodologies. A program that integrates multiple training methodologies is suggested as people have different learning style. Classroom or instructor-led training, virtual training, self-led training, and just-in-time training are few. Virtual training. In many organizations, facilities and employees are spread across large campuses or even in different cities, which is why virtual training has become so popular. It reduces the need for trainers and students to travel, provide flexibility in scheduling training, and allows more students to be trained at one time. Virtual training can consist of live virtual training session, provide a classroom training experience and allow for active communication between the trainer and the student. Recorded virtual training is recording of a live virtual training session. Recorded video training provides the end user with the flexibility of receiving training at their convenience and added benefit of acting as a refresher course to be taken right before go live or even during go live. Students also receive the benefit of hearing questions and answers from the live session. Demonstration based on video training is a prepared training session consisting of PowerPoint and how-to demonstration. This type of training is great for communicating a small amount of information in short period of time, say 2 to 5 minutes. Individual who avoid a 1 hour training program may watch a 5-minute demonstration and once interest is sparked may seek out other training opportunities for continuing learning the system of their own. Okay. All three types of virtual training should immediately followed by hands-on exercise to provide the student with opportunities to practice what they learn in virtual training. All hands-on exercise should be performed in a training system environment so as not to impact any of the tailoring or testing activities of implementation team. Just-in-time training also be utilized in as well. Designing training program with this type of training, the user receive training at the exact moment he or she decided to use the system. Super user who are system expert and who works through the organization can help train users on the fly. This approach is commonly used with physicians. Another helpful methodology is job ads such as cheat cards that can be placed in pocket to kept close to workstation or I'll read it again. Another helpful methodology is job ads such as cheat card that can be placed in pocket or kept close to workstation. Enthusiastic adoption of HIS. The HIS has to be adopted by the extent that has become a normal part of clinical workflow. HIS, Health Information System, should be just another part of the patient care operation. Adoption strategy. and monitoring adoption level, adoption strategies. Common sense and experience tell us that HIS acceptance and adoption is related to system ease of use, level of user skills, healthcare professionals' comfort using the system in front of patient, support from colleague, and the perceived positive impact. Additional understanding of the dynamic of HIS implementation provide insight into how else one can further encourage healthcare professionals to adopt HIS. Employee engagement increases when four emotions are present: enthusiasm, confidence, empowerment, and inspiration. An organization that fosters these emotions around the HIS will be in better position to drive engagement. This can be done by implementing a leadership network, fostering open communication, leveraging early adopters, and incorporating health professionals' feedback into program. A study regarding the physician adoption of IT system identified two important findings that an organization can leverage to increase adoption. The first is that physicians don't want colleagues whose opinion they value to think them as resistant to technology of proven value. The second is that it's also important to them to keep up with professional leaders in their communities. This tells us that peer pressure and competition will encourage healthcare professionals to adopt HIS. Monitoring adoption level. An organization should continuously monitor the usage of clinical informed system to maximize its adoption. They can do this by tracking the proportion of healthcare professionals that are using the HIS and the extent of usage. They also need to analyze the factors that differentiate healthcare professionals who use the application from those who don't. This could involve comparing user and non-user data such as demographic, the profession, primary care or specialty, the type and size of user, organization, for example, hospital or independent medical practice, and the degree of healthcare professionals' attachment to or identification with the organizations. Post-implementation support. Healthcare professionals should rank the need for training support during implementation and post-go live as the most critical task to a successful HIS. But many organizations underestimate the amount and degree of post-go live support needed. On average, end user will need more than 6 months to adopt the new system, but it is reported that 61% of the healthcare organizations maintain on-site support for 30 days post-implementation or less, suggesting that some end users are not receiving the support they need. Having a clear process for submitting requests for change will help users know their input is valuable. With that said, it is important not to make changes too early. Often the suggestions are just because the system workflow or process are new and different from the ways users have always done things. Unless suggestions are critical to patient care, they should just be documented for now. Critical issues should be taken care of the right away. The rest of the suggested changes should be evaluated 1 to 2 months after the activation to see if they are still needed. Now let's see managing healthcare information system. Once the system is live, it moved into operation and maintenance mode. During this time, the IT department must ensure that it continue to support the missions and goal of the organization and remain reliable and stable. During the implementation project, various processes would be put into place in preparation for this phase. This process includes configuration management, release management, customer support through a service desk, and resolution of any issues entered as trouble ticket. Documentation about how the system was configured fit into good operation, and maintenance documentation for resolving issues when they arise. Example of operation and maintenance documentation include the following: communication plan, service desk knowledge base, data flow documents, workflow documents, configuration management processes, downtime procedure, and manual. Let's see, communication plan. Define how end user communicate with IT department about the new system. How will they request help for an issues? How will they request modification to the system? How will they request help for general question about how to use the system? Service desk knowledge base. Explain how to identify and resolve issues when users contact the service desk. This includes questions to ask and decision trees to help identify the resolution or the escalation process if an issue cannot be resolved. The escalation process should include how to approach the vendor if an issue cannot be resolved internally, as well as who has the authority to contact the vendor. Data flow documents. Identify where and how data flows from one system to another or from one location in the system to another, along with the dependencies between the system. This includes the triggers that prompt the data to flow, such as change in the patient's location or trigger the information to be sent to update the lab system. Okay. Workflow document. Explain end users workflow and how the system fit into users' daily activities. Configuration management process. Define how changes are made and what level of approval and documentation are required for each change. Downtime procedures. Identify both what procedure end users will follow when the system is unavailable and what procedure the technical staff will follow to identify and resolve the issues causing downtime. Manuals. A group of documents ranging from end users manual to training guides and the configuration manual that provide step-by-step direction on how to make change in the system. Now let's see business continuity and disaster recovery plan. Business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, and business continuity and disaster recovery timeline. What is first we'll see what is business continuity plan. The business continuity plan defines how an organization prepared for and maintain the business function related to defined system. This includes the operation and maintenance of the system to ensure stability, the process of resolving the issues that could or do cause the system to be unavailable, how the business will continue without the system, and how to recover from an actual disaster. Business continuity plan, BCP, a plan that describes a sequence of action and the parties responsible for carrying them out in response to a series of identified risks with the objective of restoring normal business operation as soon as possible. A document containing the recovery timeline, methodology, tested, validated documentation, procedure, and action instruction developed specifically for use in restoring organization operation in event of declared disaster. A documented set of procedure and information intended to deliver continuity of critical function in event of disruption. Okay, disaster recovery plan. A disaster recovery plan focuses on the technical aspects such as data backup, and recovery of this after the system goes down. Backup of data are often done nightly and is stored offsite on redundant server or through a cloud computing provider, typically for an indefinite amount of time. Disaster disaster recovery site options. Okay. Mirror sites, hot site, warm site, cold site. Mirror site is very expensive, but it's instant. Okay, actively running identical process in parallel. Okay. Hot site fully operational except data staff. Okay. Warm site partially prepared for operation, and cold site only it has basic hawk and connections. See the time it take. Mirror site is instant, it's parallel, so it's instant. Hot site it takes minute to hours to make it operational. Warm site takes days to week to make it operational, and cold site takes weeks to month to make it operational. Business continuity and disaster recovery timeline. See this, try to understand this picture. We have data backup, data loss, disaster strike here. Infrastructure recovery, application data recovery, test critical, and business is hurt, normal business resume. Okay, so what is recovery point objective? RPO. Limit how far to roll back in time and define the maximum allowable amount of data lost, data measured in time from a failure occurrence to the last valid backup. Maximum tolerable downtime, MTD, specify the maximum period of time that a given business process can be inoperative before the organization survival is at risk. And see, RTO is recovery time objective, is related to downtime and represent how long it takes to restore from incident until a normal operations are available to users. Please pause this video for a while and try to understand this picture. Now we'll explore downtime procedures. This is, I have taken this information from this source, ahima.org, ahima.org. The term downtime is used to refer to a period when system is unavailable. Downtime or outage duration refers to a period of time that a system is failed to provide or perform its primary function. Okay. What goes up must come down. All health IT systems will experience downtimes, whether planned or unplanned. Well-vetted and communicated policies and procedures keep practice running and their patient information intact. The practice staff need a plan B, instruction that detail how they will operate until systems are available again. How will they get through the next hours or days will depend on whether they have clear instruction on what to do and whether they have clear done it before. They have ever done it before. We'll see types of downtime, communication, procedure for planned and unplanned downtime, and downtime drill. Let's explore types of downtime. Okay. Scheduled downtime, unscheduled time, and semi-planned downtime. Scheduled downtime. Scheduled time is planned in advance for reason including scheduled maintenance, system updates, and patches and upgrades. Okay. Planned downtime communication begin when or near the time or dates for downtime or specialists. The change control approval is generally the first notification distributed by staff in IT and operation. Scheduling planned or semi-planned downtime for the time of the day when the medical practice is closed or has low patient volume reduce the impact on operation. Reviewing application utilization report help determine the best time. Short time, okay. Short downtime may need just one notification a day or two prior to downtime. This include maintenance, update or patches. Multiple notifications are needed for large upgrade or other modification that will affect staff access to application for an extensive period of time. Notifying staff of the impending downtime will allow them to make necessary adjustment and preparation. Depending on the expected length of downtime, communication may be necessary 1 to 2 months in advance. Communicate to staff in multiple formats for extended downtime, such as upgrade to the system. Forms of communication include email, newsletter, internet sites, flyer posted at computer station, online calendar, and notification. When the system log into system for those practice with help desk, notification on the help desk line when the system is down, they also be used. Staff also require notification if planned downtime are postponed. It is helpful if the notification include the date and time of the scheduled downtime. If known or that list indicate that information will follow. Indicate that more information will follow. Unscheduled downtime. Unscheduled downtime is due to system or environmental failure, for example, power outage. During unplanned downtime, it is important that staff receive timely and effective information. The practice communication plan should identify multiple ways to communicate with the staff in the event that network or phones are down. Practice may use paging system to get out communication or access email offsite to send message or text pages. The communication plan itself requires contingency planning. It should be maintained in both electronic and paper in form to increase the accessibility. The communication should be sent to all physician, providers and staff as well as senior leadership, management and IT. If possible, one mass communication may be sent to everyone. Senior leadership and IT may have additional notice as determined by the situation. Updates are recommended at defined interval. This frequency will be determined by the practice and the situation. It may be helpful to indicate when the next communication will be sent. This will minimize staff constantly calling in for updates. The communication may also include the estimate time the system will be back up and running. If that is not known, that too should be communicated. Semi-planned downtime. Semi-planned downtime includes software or hardware upgrade that the practice doesn't schedule itself, such as those scheduled by vendor. This includes patches that need to be applied quickly to avoid security vulnerabilities. Communications. Communication plan are part of downtime policies and procedure. Communicating planned and semi-planned downtime to staff in advance will minimize frustration and confusion as to why the system is unavailable. As soon as the unplanned downtime is discovered, notifications are sent immediately to physician, staff and leadership. Every organization needs to identify the individual responsible for sending out the notification. Notifications will often originate in IT department or with IT vendors. Developing a communication template will ensure quick and effective communication. See example, schedule maintenance, dates and time may be posted. Downtime communication template. Providing staff with answer to the following question. Offer a template for announcing planned downtime. With modification, the same template can form the basis for communicating unplanned downtimes. What system will be down? When will the downtime begin? How long will the system be unavailable? Why will the system be down? What changes are being made to the system and what can be end user expect? Procedure for plan and plan downtime. Okay, plan downtime. Okay, there will be time when okay, this is a template, this is a procedure. Okay, plan. Okay, you can pause this video and read it yourself. So this is a plan downtime procedure template to follow. Plan downtime, which department is going to be affected, okay, schedule staffs, clinical staffs, and billing staffs, what they have to follow. Okay, unplanned downtime, this is template for unplanned downtime. Okay, this is the name of the department. Notification for schedule staff, clinical staff, what they need to do in case system is down, and billing staff, what they need to do. Please pause this video for a while and read it yourself. Okay, now let's see the downtime drill. Drills are an effective way to prepare for system downtime and assess staff readiness. They offer a true reflection of the practice knowledge of downtime procedure. The LTS Hospital in Salt Lake City implemented this type of drill after discovering that planned downtime procedure were only minimally effective unless the staff had experience using them. If the practice choose to conduct a drill, it is important to include all areas of the medical practice that use the comprise processes. A drill consists of facility walkthrough by designated emergency preparedness team members and individual in the information system staff. Okay, in the same manner that emergency preparedness drills are conducted, the team will physically visit various areas for the purpose of assessing staff knowledge of downtime procedure. This is done by asking the staff to explain the plan and their role in downtime procedure. Question may include, do you know how to order this test when the system is down, or how do you find lab values when the computer is down? Okay, it is recommended that drill be scheduled on regular basis. It is up to the practice to determine how frequently to conduct them, but regular drill will keep the procedure fresh in mind of staff. Follow-up education and training should be included in drill procedure so staff members can learn from any gaps that may have been identified during the drill. Education can be refresher training, but it should address all areas in which staff members were unfamiliar with the proper process. As with policies and procedure, downtime policies and procedure are only as good as the degree to which they were followed. Both physician and staff should adhere them to accurately reflect the quality of services provided and reimbursed during downtime. Okay, that brings us to end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found it helpful in preparation for CPHIMS exam.